One of the things that I think has been critical here is that we have a long history of working closely together on issues and about transfer. We start from the position that negotiating with each other is a productive and effective way to work. We work from negotiation to agreements and then sometimes to policy and occasionally even to statute, but it all builds usually from negotiations and agreements that we have been working on between sectors.
You know, I think the other thing is that because of the way that we're structured here in higher ed is structured here in Washington State, transfer is a pretty big deal for baccalaureate degree completion. 40% of the people who earn bachelor's degrees in Washington State were started as a community college transfer student. That's a higher percentage than the national average, and so it's really important for us as sectors to work together to make the transfer process as seamless and efficient as possible for our students, because these are our collective students that the community colleges and the universities are working together to help students earn bachelor's degrees. So it's incumbent upon us to work together to figure out how to smooth out the glitches in the transfer process for the benefit of the thousands of students who use that process every year to earn bachelor's degrees.
One of the things we've learned in our state is that our research mirrors the national research on the completion rates of students who transfer with and without degrees. We've found that students are highly successful, far more successful if they transfer with a degree. We certainly have students who transfer without a degree, but we do know that it's more effective for students to transfer with a degree, so we have strong incentives for students to complete the degree before they transfer, and we've done a lot of work on making sure that the degrees that they achieve at the community college are ones that will take them into the pathways and into the majors that they are aspiring to complete when they get there, so that the transfer does not only give them a degree, but they are on their way to the baccalaureate degree that they were hoping to get. That's been an important part of our process here and of our policy that we've worked on. We have had a long-standing direct transfer agreement for Associate of Arts students. Going back, I think the first one was from 1988. That has been improved and refined many, many times over the years. But in about, I think it was about 1997, our own research showed us that students who were coming into our baccalaureate institutions with into engineering, computer science, other sciences, the science-based majors, were taking longer to graduate and having to take more credits. So that led us to developing the first Associate of Science transfer degree, which is one of our best performing transfer degrees in terms of the success rates. I think our statistics now are that 92% of students who transfer with an AST degree graduate with a baccalaureate in a STEM field. And the business degree is, that followed that is almost equally, over 80% of the students who transfer with a pre-business associate's degree graduate from our baccalaureate institutions with a degree in business. So we've had a lot of success with these specific pathways, and they were based on the kind of evidence that we were accumulating in our state about the needs of our students. And each of these degrees is a negotiated agreement between sectors that includes all of the institutions.
We're pretty pleased with the outcomes from these transfer degrees that we've negotiated between the community technical colleges and the universities. They've worked exactly the way that we hoped they would work in terms of smoothing the transfer process. One of the challenges on our end in the community and technical college sector is to get more students to follow those pathways, and so we've seen an increasing number over time of students earning these degrees, but we want more of them to earn these degrees, particularly in some of the higher demand fields like STEM with the Associate of Science transfer. I think that one of the things that works well in Washington State is that we do have a spirit of collaboration and partnership between the two-year sector and the four-year sector. And most of what we've been able to accomplish around these transfer agreements has not been due to legislation. It's been due to, not that legislation doesn't matter, but it's been due to a common identification of a problem or a joint agreement that there is something that needs to be fixed. And then we commission a group of people who are in the right position to understand the nuances of community college and university policy to get together and to figure out how to solve those problems. So I really think it's that this spirit of partnership and collaboration that is the reason why we've been able to handle many of these challenges around transfer. And I also think that we have a good history in our state about working together, and that the universities operate independently, but I think there is a recognition that there's some value in working together and having some common policies and practices for our students, because our students do swirl around among institutions, both two-year and four-year in the state, just as they do in other states.
One of the things that's made this work well is how we envision how this works with the students and with the institutions. The community colleges, we have overlapping circles. It's kind of a Venn diagram here. The community colleges have missions that the baccalaureate institutions don't have. They have workforce missions and basic skills missions. The universities have other missions, graduate and research and upper division, but we have a mission in common, and these are our students. They're not your students or my students. We need to collaborate to make education work well for the students that we have in common that belong to both of us together. So I think that's a perspective that we have come from for a long time here.
Common course numbering really started with the community and technical college system, and I think about 10 years ago, because the technical colleges moved from the K-12 system as vocational technical institutes merged with the community college system in the early 90s. And so we approached Common Course numbering as a system of community and technical colleges because there was some uneven practice inside of our system among our two-year institutions about how courses were moving from one institution to another. It worked very well for community colleges, not so well for technical colleges and community colleges. So that was our original motivation behind adopting a Common Course numbering system. It has turned out to not only solve the transferability issue among our institutions, but it has also been useful for the universities because we have protocols about the courses that we commonly number, and that protocol is that the content of the courses is predominantly the same. 80% of the content and learning outcomes for the courses are equivalent, and we have a group of transfer deans who evaluate all the proposals for Common Course numbering and make recommendations about the course numbers and the commonness of the courses. And we currently have about 350 courses at this point that have Common Course numbers. And I think that this has this is probably obvious, but I think this has made things like degree audits and course planning for transfer students much easier for the universities. And because the courses that got commonly numbered are, of course, the most common courses. And those are the courses that the majority of actually that all transfer students take on their way to earning an associate degree. So I don't know how that's been,
It's
for
been
the university.
hugely helpful for the universities to be able to know that a course is the same across all the colleges, and not have to evaluate each course. It might have a different number and a different name to see whether it does actually lead into the university level courses. It's also been able to identify where there might be an issue. A great example was when the universities started saying business law courses are not the same across the community colleges. There's too much difference. We like the ones from here, but not here, this one. And that led to, of course, another group. And a group got together and built a matrix and a rubric and figured out exactly what we put in all the learning outcomes that the universities wanted in their courses, and the community colleges. We got a negotiated level of agreement about what percentage of all the would be met, and the community colleges got together and figured out what needed to be a commonly numbered business law course, and that's just worked beautifully. That's just one example about how that can work for all of us. I think that the most important thing in my mind when we run into issues or problems is I always have the mantra of let's keep talking, we can do this. And I think that's really worked out.
I agree, and I don't know what the environment's like in other states. I think that we're a nice sized state with a nice sized number of institutions.
A lot of nice people.
But we're big enough and diverse enough that
Mm-hmm.
there's value in us
Yes.
working together.
Yes.
But we're not so big in terms of the number of institutions that it's hard to get everybody in the room
Right.
to
Right.
talk together. And I think we've done a great job of using the Council of Presidents structure, which is the collaboration of the 6 public baccalaureate
Mm-hmm.
institutions, the community and technical college system structure, so that we don't have to have 34 colleges in the
Right.
room to negotiate around solving these problems. We can have a representative subset of people in the room who will take it back to the other institutions and talk about why they think this works. And we also have a structure where we can consult with the private
Exactly. I was going to bring that up
nonprofit
too. Yes.
baccalaureate institutions as well, and bring them into the conversation when that makes sense.
And most of our independent colleges do sign off on most of the agreements. They're part of the negotiation process, and most of our agreements include the independent institutions in our state as well.
Mm-hmm. So I think that we've made good, intelligent use of the internal structures, governance structures that we have to bring people together to solve these problems in a way where we can get manageable size work groups together.
Right. With the commitment and determination that we are going to solve the problems.